Hey, Eric Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. The goal of an EQ is a simple one: adjust frequencies. Today we are going to take a look at Sonible Smart EQ 2. I see EQs as two major weapons. First, it's a mixing weapon. Second, it's the Swiss Army knife of filters, making it among the most important sound design tools possible. Here are a couple examples of each in use. The first example I've got for you is this piece I have here that I took a loop and I split it into pieces using Regroover's AI drum splitting abilities. And I made a beat with the resulting layer. So it was all one thing and then I split it up. And then I used the Smart EQ 2 to sonically pan them. And I took advantage of the multi-channel mid-side per band abilities. First, let's do a dry listen. So right now I've got the EQs off as is shown by these switches being off. And so it's really quick, just give it a small listen. So there we have it. Now let's go ahead and turn on the Smart EQs. And what I've done on these EQs is we could see here that there's different colored bands. So this one is a side band. So this boost here only applies to the side information of the speakers. Allowing me to boost the side information makes it sound much wider than it otherwise would have. If we come over here, I do similar things. So here we have a side information boosted in the middle, and I actually cut in the same area in the mid, sort of emphasizing the mid side. So this is going to make things sound quite a bit wider. So let's go ahead, give it a listen. And I just really quick want to do an A/B on this section. So here it is dry. Here it is wet. So that's just an example of taking advantage of the multi-band capabilities. The next example I have here for you with the Smart EQ 2 is just a mix and also using the AI abilities of the Smart EQ 2. Let me really quick just show you what it sounds like without the Smart EQ 2. This was the song playing in the intro of the video. And here's the drums without any special stuff. Here it is with the special stuff. So quite a bit tighter and nicer. I really like what it did to the kick, and I am using the AI abilities here. So you're able to pick a profile and then you just simply hit record and it will listen to it and then make adjustments. So I'm gonna hit record right now and just hit play. And this right now is changing according to what it thinks should happen. And I could give it more or less effect by just dragging this guy up and down. So I dialed in what it decided to do. And most of the time it just sort of levels things out, but it is able, because of this profile, to sort of make better decisions, which is really cool. It's definitely produced the best results of any AI that I've ever used in production for equalizing. Let me show you the bass. So over here I've got this bass and I use the AI on this just to see what it would do. So I have this bass line here, and right now completely dry, it sounds like this. Pretty nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the Smart EQ 2 on it, and we're going to let it just run around on the standard profile and just see what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and click record and hit play, and it will begin to adjust. Now this is the master envelope, so I'm just going to let it have complete domain right now. this was a really interesting result to me. So it's trying to level the sound out and bring the high end up. And I actually like what it did, but I don't want that to be the dominant tone. So then I just dial it back in here until I get to the middle ground that I like. See right there, I might automate that down a bit. So what I'm thinking we could do is we'll come in here, we'll add an automation clip. So here's our before and after. So let's turn it off. And now let's turn it on. Just a little bit more taste to moving around. I'd probably settle on moving things a little bit more and fine tuning it, but a pretty nifty effect. There's one more example I want to show off in this, and that is the Smart EQ as a send. So I'm sending right now this square wave automated filter thing, and I'm sending it to an instance with the Smart EQ 2 on it. If I remove this, it sounds much more mono. So I'm using this to push it off to the sides. And I'm doing this by having a sideband that's really boosting the high end, but only on the sides. And then a midband that's boosting the low end. So it sounds like the low is centered and then the highs push out to the sides. And since there's a reverb on this sound, the reverb contains a lot of high frequencies, high mids. So it's going to be pushed off to the sides a lot more. So it's going to sound like it comes from the middle and then spits out. That was the idea. So here it is dry. Here it is wet. And when you put together all these moves, you get a nice sounding thing. Where things are playing nice with each other, moving dynamically out of each other's ways. It's a good time. All right, for my last example here, I have some EQs whose job is to be filter boxes basically for this crazy sound I made. So here it is. Now there's one thing I want to point out here is I did run into a couple small issues that I easily resolved, but you may run into similar things. So I'm just going to point it out real quick. If you go to the cog icon, go to processing, you need to be giving these guys a fixed buffer size. If you don't, you'll run into like latency weirdness. So just make sure you're feeding it a constant buffer size. Should fix the problems. So these are filter moves that you just really can't get any other way. You need an EQ in order to pull off moves like this. So really cool use for an equalizer. Something I commonly pull up in sound design. If I were to turn these guys off, this is what we get. So not nearly as dynamic if I turn these on. Now there's a lot going on here, but the big point is EQs are dang filters. The Smart EQ is called a Smart EQ because of the built-in AI, which can suggest EQ curves specific to the material. These can serve as great starting points and get rid of problematic resonant frequencies really fast so that you can focus on the actual mixing. Check it out. My personal favorite feature, the Smart EQ has a per band mid-side option, meaning each band has the ability to be mid, side, or stereo. I'm also a big fan of the GUI. It looks really nice, and I appreciate that. So that is the Sonible Smart EQ. There are several examples of using it and uses for it. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And have a blessed day.